Okay, this is the extended vocabulary from the American Airlines 965 clip or short little segment that we show, or that we talk about. Again, it's on YouTube, and we just watch, 8-9 minutes, just a small portion. But the purpose of this is to be able to talk about the extra, the words can be used in different ways to explain the words so that we can better understand a video when we watch it. Right. Okay, here's a picture of all the things that we talk about, the words that we explain and talk about usually before we watch the video, sometimes after, hence this PowerPoint. Okay, the first, sabotage, and they say something like, sabotage and mechanical malfunction were soon ruled out. Okay. And sabotage, again, has many uses. You can have economic sabotage, military sabotage. Maybe somebody believes that the United States has sabotaged the North Korean economy, maybe, right? Not me. There's many uses for sabotage. Maybe somebody can sabotage you in the workplace or something. Sabotage the meeting. I was going to have a really good meeting, but somebody, they made plans ahead of time to, harm the presentation or whatever. There's also a little video here of this woman at a TED Talks talking about sabotaging yourself, which is kind of more of a popular term that psychologists are using now, I think. But maybe she talks about someone who wants to lose weight, but they work out, but then late at night they get hungry and they go drink a double latte or double mocha or whatever. They're sabotaging their own success. Actually, it's very easy to sabotage yourself. Maybe you're going to take a English exam and you tell yourself, "I'm no good, I can't do it." You're sabotaging yourself. Probably the most classic example, and this is one where this little small town, someone has they have their car, and you go and you cut their brake line. You don't cut it 100%. You just slightly cut it. So after the person drives down the road, they crash because the brakes eventually fail. And somebody did this to this police officer's family in a small town. Rule out, can mean eliminate. Police have not ruled out the possibility that the man was murdered. Investigators in the American Airlines 965 crash quickly ruled out sabotage. They knew it wasn't sabotage. They're thinking it's pilot error. Again, a lot of people think of terrorism immediately because that's the brain thinks of that. Oh, somebody did something. Right? Lots of other examples of rule out. Right? Rule out the possibility. Right? At the end of the video, you'll also hear kind of something similar, led astray. And I think the guy says there were two good pilots and they were just led astray. Because you're looking at hints and clues, and it's easy to follow the wrong hint, to follow the wrong clues and stuff. Error chain. Now we talk about the Swiss cheese model of accident causation. Another way you can kind of express this, or maybe talk about the same ideas there, is an error chain. Another meaning maybe is Oxunhuan. But Oxunhuan is usually a vicious cycle, or a vicious circle. You can say vicious cycle or vicious circle. Right. Opposite, you could say virtuous cycle, but I don't really hear this too much. I haven't heard a lot of people say virtuous cycle. It's more common to say have a positive feedback loop or create a positive feedback loop, to have synergy between people. Okay. And then there's another psychologist. There's a lot of psychologists on YouTube, which is great. Error chain. Error chain is an aviation term, but she talks about, like, maybe you in your life, you keep making mistakes and think, why do I keep making the same mistake? You have an error chain that you've created, right? Bring down. Bring down means to cause to crash. So what brought the aircraft down? You hear that? All right. Bring somebody down. Bring down the government. Was it Choice and Shield scandal that brought down the Park Geun-hye government. Another example is having a fever. So the wife says, "Hey, give our son some medicine, something to bring the fever down." Or you could say that to a doctor. Or you're negotiating. You want to buy your friend's car, and he says, "Oh, it's like, Obek Manwan, or $5,000." What? Come on. Can you bring that price down a little bit? Your car is a piece of junk. Doesn't even have wheels. Also, I like the song "Don't Bring Me Down." Maybe you're really happy and you're excited to study, but somebody else tells you, "Well, you shouldn't be so happy. This is bad. Hey, man, don't bring me down." Ooh. I'm not going to sing it here. Scramble can mean to hurry. So the Captain Tafuri, I think, says, "We're going to have to scramble to get down," because they want to accept the runway 19. But we also use this in general conversation. Yeah. Oh, this morning I was scrambling to get out the door. He's always scrambling around. Right. September 11th, the U.S. military scrambled their jets. Okay, you'll hear it there too. But that's a conspiracy theory that George Bush did not scramble the jets in time, and that George Bush caused September 11th. This conspiracy theory. All right. Okay. Scramble. There's American high school students, and usually university students will also know the term the scramble for Africa. Right? So we have like the colonial powers in the 1890s were scrambling for Africa. There's also a lot of books called The Scramble for Africa. I also like to tell the story of this Operation Focused, that during the Six-Day War in 1967, that the Israeli military attacked Egypt, and the Egyptian Air Force could not scramble their fighters fast enough. So that's a historical example. All right. This term, "come back to haunt you." This is like you say something, or you think it's innocent, you think it's okay, but later it's going to come back to haunt you. Going to come back to cause trouble. Let's say you broke up with your boyfriend or your girlfriend. You think it's finished, but oh no, some of the things you said, that's going to cause trouble later. Right. I have an example of here the O.J. Simpson case. The police detective Mark Furman, he said, "I did not use any racial slurs, bad words about another race." And after that testimony, O.J. Simpson's lawyer said that statement that he hadn't used any racial slurs, that's going to come back to haunt him. For aviation purposes, maybe somebody, that somebody kicks the wing and the wing looks fine. So you say, you inspect it, okay, that looks fine. Or kicks the aircraft. But you take off, and later you start thinking, oh man, that might come back to haunt me. Now on a scale of 1 to 10, we don't use this word all the time, but on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, it's probably about 3 or 4, I'd say. Right. You have to have an adequate amount of time. You have to have enough time to prepare. You have to have plenty of time. Ample. Ample is quite, a little bit more formal. Let's maybe use less. You should have ample room between you and another aircraft, right? Have enough time. Again, we like to put words in groups. You need to have an adequate amount of time to prepare. You need to have plenty of time to prepare. Make sure you have an ample amount of time to prepare. This would be more formal, more serious. You have to have more than enough time to prepare. Right? Let's not use lacking so much, because Koreans use this too much. I hear it, "I am lacking in time. I am lacking in preparation." That's okay, but maybe it's used a little bit too much here. There's plenty of other words to say. The dotted line. Remember, because they're looking at the FMS, and the investigator says, "Well, if they just followed the dotted line on that flight path, they would have, they would have seen their error. Right? Now, this dotted line also has a business use. Okay, so sign on the dotted line. Right? Oh, I joined the military. Oh, you signed up, huh? You signed on the dotted line. Yep, it's done. And you use it for negotiations. And I had a couple examples here. This is Alec Baldwin, and he says something like, the most important thing is to get the customer to sign on the line which is dotted. Now he changes it around. Usually we say sign on the dotted line, but it's in that movie. It's kind of famous. This was one of the boxing matches. They said if whatever boxer, if he wants to fight me, all he has to do is sign on the dotted line. That's all he's got to do. This one, never point a gun at anything you don't intend to kill. Because when we're learning to shoot, maybe, it's a father-son activity. The father takes the son out, teaches his son to shoot, right? Tells the son, no point a gun at anything you don't intend to shoot. And I played in a video, you'll hear it. There's different variations of it. Don't point your gun at anything you don't intend to destroy. Right? Never aim your firearm at anything you are not willing to destroy. All right? And I like at the end of this one, they say, exactly, common sense. And I think, oh, it's common sense? Everything's common sense. Does that exist? Usually it does. Sometimes it doesn't. Also with this, they say, never point an airplane in a direction that your brain hasn't been somewhere 5 minutes before. It means you're traveling very, very quickly. And you have to think ahead. So I also showed another video of people driving. We used that. Always scan ahead. Right? Why didn't they just abandon the approach? That was when they got lost. When you get lost, that's the time you need to, switch off the automation and return to the minimum safe altitude. But one of the definitions, and I'll have this up in a little bit here, is that not doing your job after repeated warnings and being told. This Fastfingered Freddy. Now, Freddy, that's a term used for kids. Ready, Freddy. There's some book series on it, but usually we say that to kids. Hey, are you ready? Yeah. Ready, Freddy? Yeah. Very common. Kids learn that all the time. Now, I did find, because the investigator is saying, when you're in a hurry, you're just pushing buttons and you're not watching what you're doing, that's called Fastfingered Freddy. And now I did a Google search, and I only found one example like this. So I guess it's not that common. And again, I've asked the foreign pilots. They say, yeah, I know what it means, but I don't really use it that much. So on a scale of 1 to 10, this term, Fastfingered Freddy syndrome, is probably, 2. But Ready Freddy, every kid knows that. My niece and nephew know it, my sister's kids. Right? Here was the example, willful misconduct. I had a lawyer, there's a video of a lawyer on YouTube talking about